Wait, I will give you countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Uh,
Recording
we are
has
live.
started.
Please start.
नमस्कार। विनिधानकर्ता शिक्षा और संरक्षण निधि प्राधिकरण IEPFA एवं भारतीय कंपनी सचिव संस्थान ICSI की ओर से इस राष्ट्रीय वेबिनार में आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत है। We welcome Honorable Minister of Independent Charge, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Planning, and Minister of State, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Respected Rao Indrajit Singh, Secretary Corporate Affairs, Rajesh Varmaji, the dignitaries, professors, students, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you all to this national webinar for empowering investors, EPFA, journey of 5 years forward. This event, as we are aware, is being organized jointly by ICSI and IPF authorities. Ladies and gentlemen, since the provisions relating to the Investment Protection and Protection Fund came into effect from September 7th, 2016, under Section 125 of Companies Act 2013, this day is being commemorated at the commencement of ICF authority. This day gives us an opportunity to celebrate the journey of 5 years and deliberate on the future roadmap. In this backdrop, may I now request Manoj Pandey, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, CEO, IEPF Authority, to kindly deliver his welcome address and opening remarks. Please.
Honorable Union Minister of State, Independent Charge of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Ministry of Planning, and Union Minister of State, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and Chief Guest for today's occasion, Rao Indrajit Singh Ji, Secretary Corporate Affairs, Shri Rajesh Varmaji, President of ICSI, Shri Nagendra Rao Ji, Senior Officers of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Officers of IEPFA, professionals, ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege to welcome you all to this inaugural session of National Webinar on Empowering Investors, IEPFA Journey of 5 Years and Way Forward. At the outset, I would like to thank Honorable Minister for sparing his valuable time and to have accepted our humble request to inaugurate this national webinar, which is being jointly organized by ICSI and IPFA. Sir, today, that is 7th of September, also coincides with the day when the provisions relating to Investor Education and Protection Fund came into force, with effect from 7th of September 2016, under Section 125 of Companies Act 2013, with twin objectives of refunding back the unclaimed amounts, dividends and underlying shares, and promoting investors' education, awareness and protection. Sir, this moment gives us an opportunity to reflect back on our achievements and also deliberate upon a roadmap for future. On the claims refund part, we have settled more than 18,200 claims refunding dividends amounts and shares amounting to market value of about rupees 1,000 crore in last 3 years. This could be achieved due to a motivated team at IPFA. We would also like to thank ICSI for providing us with the best professional hands for processing the claim. Sir, in the last 4 years, IPFA has organized investor awareness programs in rural and urban areas. The authority has collaborated with various organizations like CAC Governance and India Post Payment Bank, NYKS, for the purpose of investor education and awareness, thereby propagating financial literacy among the masses. For spreading awareness in the urban areas, the authority has collaborated with professional institutes. Sir, our aim is to reach out the rural and urban populace for dissemination of investor education related messages, which has resulted in more than 55,000 investor education programs as on date. The during COVID-19 pandemic situation, on media and advocacy part, webinars, extensive use of social media, mass media like Lok Sabha television, scroll messages on Doordarshan, panel discussion programs on All India Radio were explored and successfully conducted. Even during lockdown periods, IPFA continued to process and refund the dividends and shares to the rightful place. IPFA has also collaborated with IGNOU Gyan Darshan channel for exploring the option of imparting investor education through distance learning mode. All the lectures have been uploaded on IPFA YouTube channel as well. Use of Gyan Darshan channel has helped us to reach out to heterogeneous audience across the country for dissemination of financial education. Sir, to reiterate, it's our commitment to improve service delivery to citizens and faster grievance redressal. IPFA also launched recently its mobile application on iOS and Android platforms. Sir. Recently, a series of short films titled Hisab Ki Kitab, developed by CAC e-Governance, was also launched. 6 modules of this film covered basic topics like importance of budget, savings, etc. Sir, since financial inclusion in the country is poised to grow exponentially with digital savvy millennials joining the workforce and social and digital media blurring the lines of rural and urban divide, in future endeavors, IPFA is going to adopt segmental approach towards investor education program catering to all sections of the society. So today, after inaugural session, 2 important technical sessions have been scheduled, which will witness eminent panelists and subject experts to deliberate upon tasks accomplished upon so far and suggest future roadmap for IPFA. Sir, thank you for gracing this occasion. Welcome you.
Thank you, sir, for putting forth your visionary, thought-provoking views, which will reinforce the enthusiasm and zeal for effective investor protection and awareness. Now I would request CS Nagendra D. Rao, President ICSI, who has left no stone unturned in promoting good governance and investor protection, to deliver his address, please.
Good morning. Sri Rao Inder Singh Ji, Minister of State of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Union Minister of State of Ministry of Planning, and Union Minister of State of Corporate Affairs, Sri Rajesh Varmaji, Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Sri Manoj Pandey, Joint Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs and CEO IPF Authority, Lieutenant Colonel Tushar Anandji, General Manager IPFA. At the outset, let me thank the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in general and IPFA in particular for having ICSI on board for its celebration of its fifth year journey and way forward. On behalf of ICSI, I also take this privilege in welcoming our most revered chief guest for today's celebration, Sri Rao Inderjit Singh Ji, Honorable Minister of State of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Union Minister of the Ministry of Planning, and recently appointed as the Union Minister of State in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Sir, it is indeed an honor and a matter of great pride and delight to have an experienced and seasoned persona such as your good self to undertake this designation in the ministry and thus play a pivotal role not only in shaping the governance culture of the Indian corporate sector but also guide the professionals connected to undertake their designated responsibilities with much greater fervor and zeal. In the same breath, I would also like to extend a heartfelt welcome to Sri Rajesh Varmaji, Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs, a man dedicated in his pursuit, and at the same time, I also welcome the Joint Secretary of Ministry of Corporate Affairs as well as all the esteemed professional from all the three professional institutes, as well as professional from ICSI and all the esteemed members from the various ministries. Sir, the logo masthead of the ICSI proudly reads under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And it is this regulatory body that has not only guided us over the past 5 decades and given us the wings to soar high, but strengthened our role, expanded the base of our responsibilities, and portrayed unwavering faith in the profession and the professionals. The Institute of Company Secretaries of India, in complete understanding of the trust and responsibilities placed, has considered itself proud to not only take forward the goals, intents, and the initiative of the ministry, but also partner and associate itself with such missions of regulatory authorities which shall further our object of laying a strong governance foundation. Investor education and protection, creating awareness not only amongst professionals but the national masses, the base of investors aptly come across as one such goal of the ministry where the ICSI has been happy to partner with. Over the past decades, while it is quite obvious, but not only the functioning of the stock market has changed, but it has also been truly witnessed a 360-degree change in the functioning of the various authorities. But one thing which hasn't changed even a single bit is the vulnerability of the brigade that is driving the market, and that is the investors. By effective regulation and bringing in more discipline in the markets, the right of investors have been ably protected by the ministry. It says that the earth needs more of the people who make sound judgment and informed decisions. While this statement must have been maybe at a macro level approach, yet it fits perfectly well in the scenario wherein the investors and stock markets are concerned. It is this market that pay the best returns, and it is the same place which has witnessed tables being turned. To quote Benjamin Franklin, and I quote, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest," and it is thought that has been at the back of the mind, driving the regulatory authorities such as the ministry to create a dedicated entity, a focused organization and authority with the whole sole goal of creating awareness, educating the investors and protecting the interest. All this will not only create by law by its own self. The theme for today's session, empowering investors, IPFA journey of 5 years and way forward, seems not only apt and befitting, but is a true reminiscence of the thought and intent of the ministry, the step-by-step journey taken by the Investor Education and Protection Fund and the authority, and the road ahead. Interestingly, a visit to the website of the IPFA, and as a professional, one is truly heartened to read the first few words, "Investors' interest is our primary concern." If the pages of the history are to be flipped, the Investor Education Protection Fund was established under Section 205C of the Companies Act of 1956 by way of Companies Amendment Act 1909 for promotion of investors' awareness and protection of interest of the investors. The IPFA was established in September 16 to make refunds of shares, unclaimed dividend, matured deposits, debentures from the Investor Education Protection Fund to investors and to promote awareness amongst the investors. IPFA today stands to celebrate the completion of a half a decade of serving the best interest of the investors. Having covered a total of 30 states and union territories and 586 districts, the IPFA today has covered a citizenship base of more than 25 lakhs through its 55,000 investors awareness program. If we were to ask me what IPFA does, is more of dispensing of the social responsibility of the ministry, and it is for the magnificence and the magnanimity of this cause that the ICSI too has extended its unstinted support in all the initiative and even so have been undertaken a host of initiatives for our own accord. For we believe that a strong, educated, informed, and aware investor base is a much needed and an essential factor for the achievement of pinnacles of governance in the corporate sector. Even further, if we were to deliberate at a macro level, sustainable growth and development, the goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat in the era where the nation is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, all can be achieved with an equal focus on all these sectors contributing towards the growth of Indian economy. And it gives me a feeling of immense pride that we being belong to an institute which has time and again portrayed its solidarity in the achievement of the intended objectives of investors awareness, protection and education through its various initiatives which shall pave the way for the strengthening of the governance structure of the Indian Inc. For as we at ICSI has always believed, together we can, together we will. To conclude, I would like to quote from Chanakya Niti, Devam Vinati Prayatnam Karoti Yad Divam Phalam. A well-planned work produces good result. Kudos once again to the proper planning and achieving good results in the interest of the stakeholders, to the Government of India and especially the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Thank you. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram.
Thank you, sir, for insightful words and thoughts. I am sure Association of IEPF Authority and ICSI will go a long way in spreading investor awareness in all parts of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, steering Ministry of Corporate Affairs and IEPF Authority into new heights is Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Chairperson IEPF Authority. Under his able leadership, the authority is spearheading into prompt citizen delivery. May I now request Shri Rajesh Varmaji to deliver his special address, please.
Namaskar. Chief guest of the day, Shri Rao Inderjit Singh Ji, Honorable Union Minister of State in charge of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Ministry of Planning and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Shri Nagendra Ji Rao Ji, President of ICSI, officials, professionals, students, ladies and gentlemen. We are really thankful to Honorable Minister Shri Rao Inderjit Singh Ji for giving his consent to inaugurate this webinar today. I welcome you, sir, to this program on behalf of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and the IPF Authority. Your ideas and words of wisdom will be of immense inspiration and motivation for all of us. As IPF Authority completes the journey of 5 glorious years today, I convey my best wishes to all members and officials of the authority. While we should cherish the accomplishment of 5 years, at the same time, we should work with more vigor and zeal to achieve newer heights. Dear friends, I can say with utmost satisfaction that IPF Authority in the last 5 years has strived hard to meet the expectations of the stakeholders. Apart from refunding back amounts, dividends and shares of the market value worth about rupees 1,000 crore, it has taken a number of steps towards investor education and awareness. It has highlighted that financial literacy and education plays a crucial role in financial inclusion and thus inclusive growth. The IPF Authority, in pursuance of the constant quest for excellence, has been adopting various measures to ease the citizen service delivery. IPF Authority has taken several technology-driven and citizen-centric initiatives to facilitate investors and reach masses. Launch of IPF mobile app, revamped IPF portal, helpline number, and call centers are some such initiatives. IPF Authority has excelled in conducting investor awareness program in rural and urban areas for spreading awareness related messages to general public so that they don't fall prey to fraudulent and Ponzi schemes. IPF Authority has collaborated with many partner institutions like ICSI, ICAI, Indian Cost Accountant Institute, CSC E-Governance Services, Indian Postal, IPPB, Nehru Yuva Kendra for the purpose of investor education and awareness, thereby propagating financial literacy among the masses. About 55,000 awareness programs have been conducted in rural and urban areas. Friends, we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to commemorate the 75th anniversary of India's independence. This Amrit Mahotsav is an occasion to live up to the ideals and expectations of our freedom fighters, whose sacrifices gave us opportunity to breathe in free India and follow our dreams. This is an occasion to cherish our glorious past and come up with new ideas in whatever area we work and resolve to take our country to the heights which our freedom fighters had wished. COVID-19 outbreak has significantly impacted the economy. In present times, investors are more risk averse and prefer relatively secure investment options offering moderate return with low risk. Inquiries about insurance policies have increased. The general need to increase medical insurance has gained importance. It has a huge potential to tap. IPF Authority needs to educate investors about these investment options available in the market. The efforts of IPF Authority to educate people from all walks of life on the financial literacy is already bearing fruits. With the common people becoming more vigilant about where they invest their money, however, it is a prolonged endeavor and we shall continue putting our best foot forward towards fulfilling our mission. As a way forward, it is essential to use technology to provide time-bound services. Technology overcomes the limitation of space, time, and resources. We also need technology-driven enforcement mechanisms. IPF should be expanded to enable flow of information to investors as well as their education about their rights. Programs should have special components for education at school and college level, online and distance learning, information collection, research and analysis on matters of small investor concerns, redressal of investor complaints. I appreciate the IPF Authority for taking initiatives for investor empowerment and helping them in taking informed decisions. I urge the IPF Authority to undertake further such initiatives to enhance financial literacy, especially in small towns and rural areas, to impact investment habits of our general population. In the end, I would urge all to take the first step forward, even if it is small, make savings and invest sensibly for a better and secure future of yourself, your family, and for a strong and vibrant nation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a thought-provoking and exhilarating address. Under your guidance, IEPF Authority is bound to achieve several new milestones in the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a moment of pride for IPF Authority, as today the first e-newsletter of the authority will see the light of the day. This newsletter will act as a vehicle of communication between the IPF Authority and the stakeholders. May I now request our chief guest, Rao Indrajit Singh Ji, Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Minister of State, Independent Charge for Ministry of Planning, Minister of State for Ministry of Corporate Affairs, to kindly press the button and release the inaugural issue of e-newsletter of IEPF Authority. Thank you so much, sir, for the release. It is indeed my proud privilege to say a few words in the honor of Honorable Minister before requesting him to deliver the address. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister Rao Indrajit Singh Ji has strong roots of patriotism as he is descendant of Rao Tularam Ji, freedom fighter of India's first war of independence in the year 1857. Highly educated, Honorable Minister is an immensely popular political and social worker, agriculturalist and an advocate. His ardent love for sports is clearly evident from the post he holds as President Para Sports Association Haryana and President Haryana Rifle Association. With great respect and humbleness, may I now request Sir to kindly deliver his keynote address, please. May I request Honorable Minister to kindly please deliver his keynote address.
I think from the minister's office, sir is joining shortly. In the meantime, let me once again acknowledge special thanks to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs as well as IPFA Authority in organizing today's webinar, by virtue of which we all as a professional can get insight into many aspects of how we also as a professional can help in delivering our best for not only to the profession but at a society at large. We are always being guided with various authorities and especially from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and we are really proud and privileged, and especially three main officers or pillars for ICSI, I can say, who have always been helping us, that is Shri Manoj Pandey ji, Shri KVR Murthy sir, as well as Gyaneshwar Singh ji, to the ICSI, who has always been helping, guiding, shaping all our professional. I am sure that the advice, guidance being given by the Joint Secretary, ably under the leadership of the Secretary Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Shri Rajesh Varmaji, I am sure that we will leave no stone unturned for the betterment of the profession as well as in pursuit of professional excellence. I may request till the Minister office join with the technical link. I think some small disturbance is there. May I request Sri Rajesh Varmaji, Secretary of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, to kindly share few of his other thoughts. So till such time our Minister can join.
So regarding the IPF authority, I have already shared the thoughts, but it is a very, during the COVID-19, there were limitations actually of conducting programs, approaching people, organizing camps physically. So the technology has really helped us, and I'll actually urge all the organizations, all our partner organizations, to reach out to the people, and especially when they have become, because of the COVID-19, slightly risk averse, and there are many modes and many modalities to actually reach out to the people. And slowly, as the things are normalizing, we should be organizing these camps extensively, especially in the small towns and rural areas. Because it is in these areas that some unscrupulous elements are still operating. They try to take advantage of the illiteracy, lack of awareness among the general people, and many fraudulent schemes, Ponzi schemes, popularly known as, they have been floated, and they have fallen prey and why we are more concerned about these people living in the rural and small town areas, because it is their hard-earned savings which they have actually these unscrupulous elements try to tap, and they get really devastated by in our experience in even in the state of Odisha, where I was working in especially in eastern India, eastern part of the country. These kind of Ponzi schemes, a lot of such schemes are floating, and we have seen people really suffer. And they take these operators, they take advantage of the naiveness, simplicity, and the lack of awareness of the people. So this is very important. The investor education and awareness is a very important function, as the Joint Secretary was telling, one of the twin functions. So this is a function which we have to now we are collaborating, and we'll all expand our footprint and collaborate with more and more organizations and reach out to the maximum number of people. That, I think, is the as we are covering this journey of 5 years today, a glorious 5 years of IPF authority, while we have used the technology and for this spread awareness, etc. But we also use technology for faster processing of the claims of the people, investors whose claims come to IPF authority. As you are aware, under the Indian Companies Act, we are mandated to settle the claims, the dividends, the shares, etc. And there also we have used the technology. We have launched certain mobile apps and other features. And in the version 3 of the MCA 21, we are going to further undertake such measures to really process and we are strengthening the IPF authority also. In the meantime, some more officers, more posts have been sanctioned. We are strengthening the authority so that we provide speedier relief to the investors whose claims are pending. And we will strive hard. I'm sure IPF authority will strive hard to serve its twin objectives of settling the claims of the investors as well as spreading the awareness among the general people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Disha.
Sir, the minister has joined, and I request sir to kindly deliver his keynote address, please.
Has this virtual release of the newsletter taken place? Anyway.
Yes, sir, it has been released.
Okay. Shri Rajesh Verma, Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, IEPF Authority, Chairperson, Shri Nagendra Rao, President, ICSI, professionals, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to inaugurate the national webinar Empowering Investors, IEPFA Journey of 5 Years and the Way Forward, organized by the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority. IEPFA was established on 7 September 2016 under Section 125 of the Companies Act 2013 with the twin objectives of unclaimed amounts, dividends, underlying shares, and promoting investors' awareness and of the protection offered by the government. Today we can say that IEPFA has completed 5 years of its journey by accomplishing these tasks assigned to it quite successfully. I convey my good wishes to IEPFA on this occasion. I am happy that IEPFA has undertaken a proactive approach to achieve its mandate of promoting investor education, awareness and protection. It has taken a holistic approach to sensitize stakeholders, to include household investors, housewives, professionals, etc. across the country in rural and urban areas, through direct investor awareness programs, media campaigns, and engaging with the other stakeholders with similar goals. It has entered into MOUs with various organizations like CSC, e-Governance, NYKS, India Post Payment Bank, and established research chairs at NCAER and IICA for policy research on matters of investors' education and awareness. I am told that despite the COVID-19 related nationwide lockdown and restrictions on mass gatherings of people, various digital approaches like using social media, mass media, radio, IGNOU Gyan Darshan channel have been used by IEPFA to continue dissemination of financial education. I am aware that IEPFA was collaborated with various organizations, institutions, and banks for organizing investor awareness programs. However, I would urge that increasingly educational institutions, industry bodies, and other stakeholders like think tanks, research institutions, etc., should come forward to shoulder the responsibility of increasing financial literacy through appropriate awareness campaigns. I am informed that 6 modules of short films of IEPFA titled Hisab Ki Kitab for promoting investor education on topics like importance of savings, bank accounts, and on issues of Ponzi schemes, etc., were launched in June 2021. IEPFA has also launched a mobile app. These initiatives aim to leverage and strengthen the Prime Minister's vision of digitally empowered India and financial inclusion to all. The IEPFA has also collaborated with some banks for spreading the message related to investor awareness and protection on digital platforms. Efforts are also being made to involve Gram Panchayats in investor awareness programs. Ladies and gentlemen, as the country is celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to celebrate and commemorate 75 years of independence and the glorious history of its people, culture, and achievements, the Mahotsav also celebrates the spirit of Jan Bhagidari. Out of the many schemes of the Mahotsav, the most significant one is ideas, achievements, and resolve, which acts as a guiding force and inspires us to assume our duties and achieve our dreams. I am happy to learn that IEPFA, in association with the ICSI, is organizing various programs for investor awareness during this Amrit Mahotsav. Nevertheless, I wish to share that financial inclusion and investor protection is a top priority for this government, and that promoting financial education would help in realizing the collective potential of our country. I personally believe that neither is investor education a one-time exercise, nor is it possible to provide lifetime protection to 1 or 2 classroom studies which can help protect investors, but it is required as an ongoing process. It needs an innovative mechanism to impart investment-related education more frequently, particularly when the market is aspiring towards new and innovative financial products. The interventions of financial education would have to be customized for local language and settings as per the different sets of audiences. Besides this, a well-structured and efficiently implemented investor program should focus on protecting investors by educating them on their rights and responsibilities, empowering investors with the knowledge to evaluate different financial products and make informed decisions vis-à-vis financial and retirement planning. As a future roadmap, it is essential, firstly, to focus on schools and colleges to provide basic financial education at the early stages. Secondly, reach diverse segments of the population. Thirdly, use technology in making programs of financial education efficient and scalable. Fourth, work in partnership with a wider set of international, national organizations and stakeholders. Fifth, promote digital financial transactions to support government initiatives. And sixth, undertake research to gain insight into developing better understanding of financial education and financial inclusion, while carrying out policy changes in the areas related to investor education and protection. I understand that the IEPFA organizes nationwide programs to sensitize investors. Technology will have to play a key role in the years to come, and the IEPFA should make full use of it to reach out to all the investors in every corner of the country to ensure a financially inclusive nation. I once again congratulate IEPFA for holding this event, for spreading awareness about its various initiatives on this significant day, and urge IPFA to continue with its good work in the existing and upcoming areas under investor awareness and protection. I express my best wishes to IEPFA and the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for their future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom. It was really wonderful to hear your ideas and thoughts, and we are sure that these will be of immense help and motivation for all of us in the years to come. May I now request Lieutenant Colonel Tushar Anand, General Manager IEPF Authority, to deliver vote of thanks to all the dignitaries, please.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister of State Corporate Affairs and Chief Guest for today's National Secretary Corporate Affairs, JS and CEO IPFA, senior officials of MCA, colleagues, students, and my dear friends. On this occasion, it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. On behalf of IPF Authority, we express our gratitude to Honorable Minister for his sparing his valuable time out of his hectic schedule and inaugurating the national webinar. Sir, it is indeed a moment of honor for IPFA that the inaugural issue of e-newsletter has been launched today. This is an important initiative of the authority for direct communication with the stakeholders and the claimants. I would like to thank Secretary of Corporate Affairs, under whose able guidance and directions we could initiate the publication of e-newsletter. The constant inspiration and unstinting support of Joint Secretary and CEO IPFA has helped us to undertake many initiatives. Under your guidance, sir, we have achieved many milestones. The authority is all set to address the Plan India awareness program in a mission mode. I would like to thank ICSI for organizing this national webinar in a collaborative manner. I am sure that in times to come, ICSI and IPFA will collaborate for major initiatives in organizing awareness programs pan-India. We are sure that these initiatives will go a long way and steer the authority to the next level in providing human service to our stakeholders, at the same time educate investors in both rural and urban areas so that they can take informed decisions and refrain from falling prey to Ponzi schemes. Sir, although IPFA has proudly marched through various untrodden paths However, we assure you, sir, that under your able guidance, we will do even better in times to come. Once again, thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with this inaugural session of this national webinar comes to an end. We request all the participants to please stay connected for the technical session that would follow. Now I request CS Premjit, Joint Director ICSI, to please take this forward.
Thank you, CS Dishakant. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the first technical session on the theme Empowering Investors and Imparting Investor Education and Awareness in the Past 5 Years. This session will help in gaining greater insights into the various investor education and empowerment programs, initiatives in India for the last 5 years, and significant role played by the IEPF authority in this regard. This session will be chaired by Sri Gopal V. Kumar, Honorable Member, IEPF Authority. Sri Gopal V. Kumar is a practicing actuary and management consultant for more than 24 years. He has niche qualifications in the areas of actuarial science, finance, econometrics, and financial planning. He is a master's in business economics from the University of Delhi, specializing in finance and econometrics. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Actuaries of India, a statutory body established under the Actuaries Act 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also invite the panelists for the first technical session. Dr. K.N. Singh, IEPF Research Chair Professor at IICA. C.S. Devendra V. Deshpande, Vice President, Institute of Company Secretaries of India. Sri Gaurav Gupta, Deputy General Manager, IEPFA. I now hand over the proceedings to the chairman of the first technical session, Sri Gopal V. Kumar.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Chief guest of the day, Rao Indrajit Singh Ji, Sri Rajesh Varmaji, Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Manoj Pandey Ji, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I will take this opportunity to congratulate IEPF Authority on its 5th Foundation Day. The authority has done great work in the areas of investor education and protection in the last 5 years. Generally, for many financial investments, it is said that the past performance does not necessarily predict future results. It is said in a defensive connotation as disclaimer. But for IEPFA, the journey of last 5 years, we can say we had eventful and encouraging past, and we certainly have bright and great future, that too with optimistic connotation. I'm glad to have this opportunity to chair this important technical session on empowering investors and imparting investor education and awareness. We have 3 distinguished guests today to share their views on various dimensions of empowerment and education. Review of any journey, especially for behavioral attributes such as empowerment, which has varied connotations and subjective benchmarks, is a difficult task. Empowerment in context of investor education is the critical step which basically connotes to developing ability to take a financial decision in line with risk appetite and risk capability. This is just to set the context for our today's discussion on empowering investors and imparting education and awareness. We have an aspiration to achieve that 5 trillion economy. We know we require capital formation for this goal, and we need a strong savings and strong financial systems for that. Promoting and deepening financial education would play a very important part in our endeavor. Investor awareness and education, which facilitates effective financial inclusion, has both macro level implications for financial stability, and micro connotations towards an individual's financial well-being. If you see the journey of last 5 years, how to just review that journey, we need some financial data to understand where we have been in last 5 years. I just collated some data just to set the tone for the discussion what we have today. Right. If you see the launch of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana in 2014 has resulted in almost every household having access to formal banking system. And if you see the current statistics, at the end of fiscal year 2021, the total value of deposits is 99 trillion and it is up by 8.5%. Number of bank accounts have gone up. Mutual fund industry assets, AUM, has gone up. If you see the number of accounts, that has also gone up. Individual investors have grown up by 1.42 crore in FY21, right? Financial industry has grown. Insurance industry has grown. So wherever we put our investments, whether that is financial assets, whether that is insurance, whether that is bank, mutual fund, everything has grown. Can we say, based on this number in growth, whether that is education or empowerment is at play, or this is just increased saving which is being deployed in certain investment avenues what we have? We need to discuss what exactly are the empowerment means and what exactly how exactly it will help us for the financial well-being of our people. To start the discussion, I'll start our discussion with Professor Singh. Professor Singh, you have seen the journey of IEPFA and investor education in this country for last 5 years, right? How do you see this journey in a macro perspective, right? If you see this journey, it started with financial literacy, financial awareness, financial knowledge, financial inclusion. Now we are talking about financial empowerment and financial well-being, right? How you look at this journey, Professor Singh?
Thank you, Gopal Kumarji. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be on this show. We know that financial inclusion is a very significant aspect of the policy of Government of India. We would be aware that financial inclusion is just one part of the provision of financial services. Financial education, financial inclusion, while works on the supply side of financial services, financial education is the other important aspect which works on the demand side of the financial services. In this respect, financial education as also investor education have important role to play when we think about the financial well-being of Indian citizens. Investor education is an important aspect, especially because all of us take financial decision on our day-to-day basis. And it's important that we have covered different aspects of financial knowledge, financial behavior, financial attitude, which go into defining what a financial literate individual is. So with this perspective, Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority, through its program, different program on various media, be it audio-visual media, be it social media, is playing a very significant role in taking forward its mission of imparting education and providing protection to the investors. IICA, in partnership with IEPFA, had conducted a survey in 2018. And what had come out of this survey was that Indian population, investors in particular, were only financially literate to the extent of 56-57%. Individuals on an average had scored just about 12 on a scale of 21, which shows where we are in terms of our understanding of investor education and different aspects. Having said, it's important that we realize where we need to go. And in that respect, the different programs being implemented by IEPFA through its partners is a significant one. COVID-19 has thrown up challenges. And in this period of challenges where physical delivery of the programs of financial education and investor education was not possible, IEPFA has done great service to the nation and to its citizens by providing programs through online mode, through different digital modes. And I'm very sure that in future, IEPFA and its partners, as also all of us who are working together on this, we would take the programs and the delivery and the output to the greater height.
This Institute of Company Secretaries of India has been associated with IEPFA as a partner. So you have seen IEPFA from two perspectives, working together and also as a professional from outside. So how do you see that journey of IEPFA in particular and investor education in general in last 5 years, Mr. Deshpande?
Yes, thank you, Gopal Kumarji, for that inaugural thought. And I must compliment Professor K.N. Singh for his initial thoughts on investor education and empowering investors and imparting investor education and awareness. So I think I must first congratulate and wish happy Foundation Day to IPFA, and I'm really happy to be part of this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebration of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And on behalf of ICSI, you have rightly pointed out 2 points, that as an association with which we are working on a regular basis. So IPFA Authority and ICSI have collaborated a lot, and we will be discussing during this small panel discussion that how we have already worked on it and how we are looking forward for doing further activities in empowerment of investors. So let me tell you that Foundation Day always acts as a checkpoint whenever we talk about a race. So it is all about looking back how we have performed and how we will take it forward. So already IPFA Authority has made significant strides in promoting investor education, awareness and protection, apart from making a lot of refunds of matured deposit, debentures, unclaimed dividends and underlying shares to the investors under the Companies Act. And we have always seen that a lot of investors do come to Institute of Company Secretaries of India and they inquire, and they have seen this a smooth flow of the refund of dividend, refund of unclaimed matured deposits, debentures, and even the underlying shares, which is a new phenomena for the investors. 2-3 years back, they were only worried about their dividends, and then now they are also thinking about getting those shares back, which were remaining unpaid for a continuous period of 7 years or more. So I think the investors have now, they have got the knowledge now about all this process and how to go about it, and it has been made very smoothly. I think IPFA Authority is using all its artificial intelligence and blockchain or such other mechanisms for providing best of the services to the investors for their knowledge, as well as for getting their dividends, unclaimed dividends and amounts and shares back in their kitty. So first of all, let us think about what has been done so far by IPF Authority. As far as my understanding goes, they have already conducted more than 50,000 investor awareness programs in 585 districts covering 30 states and union territories by collaborating with various organizations. Especially ICSI has already been in touch with IDFA Authority from day one, and we have been integral part of all these programs which have been conducted by IPF. And I'm really happy that this is just a beginning. The 5 years journey is just a beginning and the first checkpoint. And I think there are many more things which we can do together. So these are my initial thoughts.
Thank you.
As ICSI, even we have 2.5 lakh of students and 65,000 of members who are also investors. So both way our members and students are getting benefited from the initiatives of IPFA. So these are my initial thoughts. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Deshpande. We have Shri Gaurav Gupta from IFA. Right, and it's very interesting to know from him, like, what has been the journey, how does he see that journey? So, Mr. Gaurav, I have a very simple question for you, and many of us would like to know, right, how do you see that journey, means whether we have moved to that knowledge level or it is just at literacy or creating awareness level? If you see the difference in literacy, awareness, there are various spectrum of that entire, empowerment process, right? So it takes time to move up on that learning curve. right? It starts with literacy, awareness, and then go to financial freedom, where you learn the skills to use the technique to use that for your financial well-being. So where are we at this stage, Gaurav? What do you think?
Thank you for having me here and giving me an opportunity to express my views. I'll start with the thing that this financial literacy and investor awareness, it's an ecosystem which is stakeholder dependent. When we say investor awareness, whose task is it for propagating investor awareness or propagating investor protection? We can say that mostly government is doing it or regulators are doing it. But for me, all the market players, whether it's a bank, whether it's an insurance company, whether it's a mutual fund company, they all should do stakeholder analysis and should take part in investor awareness. Why it is so? Because when we say investor awareness, it is about investor trust. Investor trust in the system, in the economy. If we will gain that trust, then only our economy will prosper. Investor will have the confidence to invest in the economy. As sir said, that where we are in terms of the maturity level, we will say that right now there is a divide. There is a divide between urban and rural India. There is a divide between haves and have-nots. There is a divide which says that there are people who have knowledge and who have the opportunities to invest and grow their income or their wealth, while there are people who are falling into clutches of unorganized sectors or in the clutches of Ponzi scheme. And there we are, where we have the mandate in form of IPF authority. We are not only engaging with the end users, we are also engaging with all the stakeholders, be it the regulators, be it banks, be it other organizations, be it education organizations like ICSI, ICAI, and other professional bodies, as well as research chairs. We are telling them all that it is all of our business to ensure that there is financial literacy, there is investor awareness, because then only we will all prosper. The government has the responsibility, but it is not the ultimate responsibility of the government alone to have this investor awareness and financial literacy. It will be in all our interest, all our together's interest, that all the people are educated and aware so that we can have a financially literate society.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. Now coming back to Professor Singh, you have been the IEPFA research chair at IICA. I have seen many publications of yours, right? And as our chief guest said, research is very important in policy decisions, right? So the investor education domain requires a lot of research, and it is at very nascent stages now, right? We have to get on the right content. We have to understand the behavioral paradigm. We have to understand delivery effectiveness of awareness and productivity benchmarking and etc. Do you agree with me? And what are the areas where you think that, in next 1 or 2 years, we would require some kind of policy research so that, our education program becomes effective and it meets the intended objective of achieving that? Professor Singh. You are on mute, sir.
Thank you, Gopalji, once again. Very interesting question. In fact, one of the mandate on which we are working currently is carrying out insightful research and then accordingly making modifications in what we want to do and what we are doing currently. As you know, the objective of research broadly are twofold. One is to evaluate what is the status of current knowledge, how we can modify, how we can improve upon it, and also so the other aspect is to bring in the new set of knowledge that guides us into what needs to be done and how we can do that more efficiently. As you are aware, we are carrying out research in the relevant area of investor protection, financial education, and similar other areas. Just to give you an idea, we recently did a research on how has been the growth of Indian economy, that is the changes in GDP of India on the one hand, and on the other hand, the surge in the investment in the stock market. Now we have seen that we all are aware that while the Indian economy technically went into recession, Indian stock market has been on the upswing. And when we did some study and found out what the data is saying, we observed that actually there have been lot of investors, numerous investors have come into the market for a variety of reasons. If you see the data of the new Demat account opening, it's humongous. We have found that actually there is a set of investors who are getting into Z category of shares, which are penny stocks and which are of low value. This also throws up a question that a number of investors are getting exposed to more risk than they should be taking. Many a times they are making investments based on the investment ideas which are floating on social media, on WhatsApp, Twitter, and so many other things, which opens them to future risk. Now, how can we do anything from IPFA perspective? There is need for us to focus on that segment of investors and bring to their attention that every investment has certain risk, and the higher return that you are expecting, especially by investing in, let's say, penny stocks, the more risk that you are exposing yourself to. So just be mindful and take care of what you are doing. Similarly, we carried out another research in the area of financial fragility and financial resilience. As I shared earlier, IACA had carried out a survey, and we found out that actually a segment of population is exposed to income shock and expense shock. Now, COVID-19 threw up a scenario where we saw that all of a sudden number of persons were exposed to these kind of shocks. They no longer had jobs. They no longer had the means of income to carry out their sustainable livelihood and other things. So this threw up a question, and this threw up a research question for us. What can be done to help them manage this kind of expense and income shock in future? And we came to realize that actually, if we reviewed the data, financial literacy and financial education was significantly important in playing a role in helping them manage these kinds of shocks. So a number of research that we are undertaking would be helpful in actually making policy advisory to the ministry, to the stakeholders, why we need to do financial education and investor education, and whom should we be targeting when we want to have more bang for what the program should be achieving.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Singh. Now I'll come back to Mr. Deshpande again. Right. You are from a professional institute. You must be conducting a lot of audits and just reviewing the past, what has happened. If I ask you a question in hindsight, what do you think what we missed or we did not miss? If you see the investor education journey of last 5 years, and if you have done some research on that, just, audit of that, right? What we missed. Always, hindsight bias may be there. In the stock market also you have hindsight bias, and in research also you can have, right? You can always think past could have been better, but in a very objective way, I would like to know your view, what we missed or what we should have done in a better way.
Yeah. So Gopalji, what I think in last 4 to 5 years, so this IPFA authority came into picture in 2016 officially, but the IPFA rules 2001 were always there, and actually we as ICSI started our journey from 2005 onwards, and from institute viewpoint, we had around 75 offices all across India, and all these offices have been instrumental in having various programs of investor awareness. So I must tell you that we have already conducted around 4,000 plus investor awareness programs during this journey, and we have been also conducting Capital Market Week program. So it's a yearly weekly program for capital market, and in these Capital Market Week programs we invite all the experts from SEBI, from stock exchange, and from regulators, and we conduct our internal discussions on various things which are happening with the investors, various things which are happening with the capital market, and how best we can safeguard all the investors and empower all the investors. So we have been doing this. In the journey, we have also, like as rightly pointed out by Professor Singh, that the research is one of the most important aspect of empowerment. So for the purpose of research, we have already empaneled so many resource persons at the institute. They might be company secretaries, they might be capital market experts, professionals, professors, retired teachers of various universities. You must be aware that institute has already tied up with 65 universities all across India. So we have tied up with all the universities, including IIMs. So I think we have taken a lot of steps for investor awareness. In this regard, we have issued, or we have already brought out 2 booklets. One is a booklet on first steps for investing, a beginner's guide, and another is primer on for the first time and existing investors. So these 2 booklets we have already published on behalf of ICSI, and we have also translated them into different languages for the regional and local investors. We have already translated them into Bangla, Urdu, Malayalam and Hindi for encouraging people to invest and invest properly. So this is what we have already done. Definitely there are a lot of things which we can do. So 4,000 number in last so many years, and with the 75 odd offices all across India, this number is, I think, very less, and we may go ahead and have bigger number. We are coming out with a few publications which we are in discussion with IPFA authority, and which we will be doing. And we can definitely go ahead and have a mega awareness program for the IPFA, so that people get connected. Now in this virtual mode, it is very easy to have large number of people associated with any of the program. So I think ICSI has done its role, and IPFA has always supported ICSI for smooth functioning of a lot of IPFA form processing and everything. We have been constantly in touch with the IPFA authority, and they are really helpful in getting the things rolled out very quickly. So I think so far we have done good, but yes, there is still a scope of improvement for all of us. So and we are there. Yes,
there is always a scope of improvement, Mr. Deshpande.
We are always there. That's support from all our people would be there.
That's why it is called a journey. It will always remain a journey. We have to move ahead on that curve, right? So coming back to Gaurav now, Gaurav, IPFA, a lot of achievements. If you start writing that, it will take at least many reams of paper, right, to write that. But I would like to know, what are the 3 major achievements of IPFA in last 5 years? Can you just tell the audience what exactly we have achieved, major achievements? You are
begin on with
to
begin with, IPF has 2-fold mandate. One is for the claim refund process, and second is for the investor awareness process. So as far as claim refund process is concerned, I can proudly say that we have moved to a complete digitized world. We started with a process where there was some limitations and some process, especially from the company side, which are our essential stakeholders, had to be done in physical form. Now we have moved that to completely digital online medium through NCA 21 system. And in NCA 21 system also, it is one of the process where are multi-stakeholder driven. There is a citizen-centric service where citizens are enabled to file online refund claim form. Then it goes automatically to the company, and the company can also file e-verification report online, and that gets translated and that gets transferred to us, and we dispose it online. So this is one of the major achievement. Second initiative, as I told, that there is a divide. So IPF authority has essentially targeted 2 type of audience. First is the rural India. We have program where we are conducting programs in 117 aspirational districts. Then we have programs from NYKS. Second programs we have done are through professional institutes and through our resource person who are more focused towards college going students. Third achievement I will say is that we are focusing on providing information to rural people about opportunities they have, the safe opportunities, be it Prime Minister's insurance schemes or opening of zero balance accounts or the Ayushman schemes. So we have been able to propagate these schemes. We have been able to tell people that they also have opportunities which are risk-free, which are backed by government, and which will enable them to have a safe and sound future.
Right, Gaurav. Thank you very much for listing out the achievements. Right, so we have 5 minutes more. We'll have the last round of questions. Right, there are so many questions, but time is less. We have two technical sessions. One is talking about past, other one is talking about future. I don't know which session will talk about present, so I will take this liberty to talk about present also, because next section is all about future. So when we say present, we have to understand where we are, where we stand, because as an actuary, we understand knowledge of past is very important. You have to understand what we have done in past and what is the current scenario, and that will unfold into future scenarios, right, how we are going to achieve it. So my question is open question. Any one of you can take this question that, if you see the current level of investor education in India, right, I see a lot of challenge. The challenge could be relating to content, challenge could be relating to delivery, challenge could be relating to kind of, segmentation of market, what we are doing, or segmentation of the target audience. What do you think could be the right approach to reach the mass? The challenge has been to reach the mass because we are a very heterogeneous country in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding, in terms of investment avenues also, right? In rural market, we see the savings, has got different connotations for them. Savings means bank account, right? If you go to metro cities, savings have different connotations. So how do we can reach the masses? If you can share one strategy or some strategy which can work to reach the mass, basically, right, in current circumstances, that will be great. And with this, then we'll close the session. That is the last question from my side. Any one of you or all of you can pick and take 1 minute each to answer that question. Yeah. So that happens when it is open. Nobody takes that. So I'll request Mr. Deshpande to start that. Yeah.
No problem. So I was ready, but there was some problem with the mute and mute mic. So the thing is, what I personally believe is the investor these days are very young investors. So if we go by statistics, if we have those statistics with us, we will get to know that a lot of young people are getting into this capital market, and they are investing in shares, they are investing in options, futures, and so many other derivative forms also, and even commodities for that matter. So I think the awareness can be done by Iepfa authority through social media, because that will have a big impact on the young generation, because they are anyways a very soft target for all these fraudulent activities. So I think young generation can be made aware about what to do, what not to do through the social media. So we can use the social media, maybe Twitters, Facebooks, and even Instagrams, and nowadays Telegrams, WhatsApp. So we must have one entire system wherein we can educate the youngsters. That will be the way forward, I think, because yes, print media has its own limitations. Even the OTT platforms can be used. So these are the few like different out of the box ideas we can use as Iepfa authority and educate our youngsters and make them safe in this difficult times of investment. So these are my views on the.
Professor Singh, any one idea which you can throw to the audience? What can be done?
Use of. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so there are a number of aspects of financial education or investor education which we need to be mindful of. Basic fact is the need or the requirement of financial education or investor education in a country like India is so huge. Everything that we are doing currently is so less. For example, as we just discussed about the youth are very savvy with the technical aspects and technology and use of mobile phones, smartphones, as also the availability of internet services. So we can have one set of programs targeting them. On the other hand, having seen the advantages and efficiency of digital financial transactions, even for farmers or the rural community, we need to be working with them and actually providing them very practical and hand-holding experience on how and what needs to be done so that they can take up the digital financial transaction. From IPFA research chair perspective, we have submitted a proposal to IPFA on what can be done, for example, in imparting practical education to panchayat institutions, to panchayat, to sarpanch, and also to rural women who can undertake digital financial transactions. If these kind of things are taken up, this could be hugely efficient. A number of things can be done, and maybe we could have a separate discussion on that.
Yeah. Gaurav, you have to say anything or one step which we can help us?
According to me, sir, that any program is demand driven. So while we are talking about segmentation, we have to talk about that financial literacy for whom. So what is the stage at which that person is? All the objective of financial literacy or investor awareness is to channelize the savings into investment, whether for the good of the person or for the society or for the nation. So we have to decide at what stage that individual is, and financial literacy will be driven by that perspective of an individual, of a person, of a society, or you can say even having stakeholder driven segmentation, whether it is rural perspective or urban perspective.
It should be tailor-made depending on the segment we are talking about, right? With that, we will close this session, and I would say that investment in knowledge is the first investment an investor should make to maximize the ROI or to align their investment with the financial goals. With this, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you. With this, we
thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We come to the conclusion of the first technical session. I thank the learned panelists for sharing their valued views on the issues relating to investor education, awareness and empowerment, and the significant role played by the IEPF authority in this area in the last 5 years. The ideas and food for thought given by the panelists will be helpful in guiding the future course of action. Ladies and gentlemen, we now pass on to the second technical session of the day. Welcome to the second technical session on the theme Roadmap for Investor Awareness and Protection till 2047. To deliberate upon the topic, we have the presence of very learned professionals in the domain. This session will be chaired by Dr. K.P. Krishnan, former Secretary to the Government of India and IEPF Research Chair Professor at National Council of Applied Economic Research, NCAER. Sri K.P. Krishnan is the NCAER IEPF Chair Professor in Regulatory Economics. The chair has been established with the support of the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority, Government of India. Dr. Krishnan leads a group focused on research and policy outreach in the broad area of regulatory and public economics, including concerns about investor protection and financial sector reforms, land policy and records, public finance and public administration, law, economics, and justice. Let us also invite and welcome the panelists for the second session. Sri G.P. Garg, Executive Director, the Securities and Exchange Board of India. Sri Rakesh Jain, Member, IEPFA. Professor Bijon Kumar Mishra, Founder, Jago Grahak Jago. Lieutenant Colonel Tushar Anand, General Manager, IEPFA. I now hand over the proceedings to the chairman of the second technical session, Dr. Professor K.P. Krishnan.
Good afternoon. Am I visible and audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And good afternoon to all of you. I want to first thank IEPFA, Manoj Pandey, Mr. Rajesh Verma, all my colleagues, Colonel Anand and his team at the IEPFA for this opportunity. Essentially, what we will try and do in the time that we have is to get our 4 experts to speak on 4 different aspects of the issue that we are dealing with. I want to just use the opportunity as moderator to lay the sort of picture on what the future will look like. Since we are looking at investor awareness and protection in 2047, the three broad issues that I want to place before you are: A, what will the world and India look like then? B, what will be the implication of this for the economy and the Indian financial system? And C, in turn, what are the demands that it will place on the agenda of investor education and investor protection? The four eminent practitioners will each deal with one aspect of the problem. One will deal with the private sector view, one will deal with the consumer view, one will deal with the view of the financial sector regulators and what they are collectively doing, and the IEPFA chief executive will deal with it from an operational implementation point of view. But very quickly, the four or five issues on what will India or the world look like in 2047, very quickly: larger economy, much larger proportion of savings which are translated into financial savings. C, a larger proportion of the population connected with the financial system. 4, much more extensive use of information technology to transact in the sector. And lastly, blurring of distinction between financial service providers and between the products. Now, there are reasons for each of these trends. We won't go into those in this short session. Let's look at the implication of this for the financial system. We will need much greater intermediation capacity because we have larger savings and we need larger investments. Intermediaries may not necessarily be the financial sector players of today, but a whole lot of other types of entities. For instance, big tech firms, all kinds of technology players could become financial intermediaries. 3, we will be dealing with a multiple set of consumers of finance, different types of consumers of finance, and who will be dealing in products that are much more complex, much more sophisticated, and much more customized. Now, to turn to the last and final question, looking at the rest of the world, including OECD countries, the growth of the economy and the growth of the financial system has not necessarily been accompanied by a more financially aware population. Hence, given that IEPFA is the only cross-cutting body that is essentially company agnostic, product agnostic, the investor education part will largely need to be dealt with in the new emerging world by the IEPFA. Who will deal with the rest of the questions is what my panelists will address. Now, can I move on and request the sequentially listed panelist number 1, Mr. Garg, to come in online and speak for 5-6 minutes on the questions that are before us. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Garg.
Respected Dr. K.P. Krishnan, IPF Research Professor and fellow panelist Shri Rakesh Jain, Professor Bezon Kumar Mishra, Lieutenant Colonel Tushar Anand, and very wonderful audience we have today, and special thanks to IPF Authority CEO and those who have already spoken today. I'll put this entire efforts which we are having in two aspects. One is that why we do the kind of financial education we do, which is a basic education for those who are not aware of some of the basic financial concepts, and what we do for the investors. So to start with any work you do of this proportion when you have a country like India, it's always become important that you first know at what state of financial literacy or financial inclusion you are. And that's how through National Center for Financial Education, which is a joint initiative of all financial sector regulators, Reserve Bank of India, SEBI, IRDA, PFRDA, we took the financial literacy and financial inclusion survey 2019. While many panelists said that yes, we are doing a lot of work and a lot, programs across the country, but when we see the country as a whole, the picture is slightly different. To begin with, in 2019, we found that when it comes to the financial literacy in the country, only 27% of Indians are financially literate. It means we have close to 73% of Indians, or close to, I'll say, if I take the population of the country, close to 80 crore plus Indians which are financially illiterate. And that is what is a roadmap should be, that how to address that issue if we have that much of large population, even though we say literacy of India today is close to 80%. If we still see there is a huge disparity among the states, while financial literacy is above 50% in small states like Goa, Delhi, or places like Chandigarh. But if we see the big states like Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Sikkim, it is around 9 to 10%. So, and you will see that if we further correlate, there are people from the research side that that's why some of the problems we face there of the Ponzi schemes or other, those are unregulated products is more there. Again, a huge divide between urban and rural. 33% of Indians are financially literate, but in case of rural population, only 24%. So it tells us that where we need to have more focus. When I see male and female, only 21% of female population is financially literate. And when I say it is for the 18 years to 80 years of age, I am talking here because that is what we did in the survey. Luckily, there is no, clear pattern, SC, ST, OBC or general if we see categories. The financial literacy is almost same across the country, which is a good sign. But if we see further among the homemakers and agricultural laborers, the financial literacy varies from 13 to 15%, which is again a very, very, low number. If I also say you that how the people use the products when it comes to the financial products, let us start with the banking. And for the purpose of survey, we decided that we will see a person is using this particular product if he has the awareness of the product, if he is owning that product, and if he made some transaction in last 2 years. While we found that in the banking, close to 87% in the country, population is, we can call it financially included. But when we see the rest of the financial products, which are the pension products or securities market products, the number is only 15%. So again, you can see that how much of our population needs to be, bring to the formal financial system. And in respect of capital market, which, SEBI I belong to, and we are very closely focused, we found only 8% of Indians are some way or other are connected with the capital market, and highest in states like Goa, but in the states like Bihar or Himachal Pradesh, it is only 2%. So again, there is a huge, work which we need to be done. And if we see the markets like commodities market, we want to develop, and we feel that a lot of products have been launched. The number is very low. It is 3 to 4% only. So we can see that there is a huge need for, carrying out this financial education and investor education programs across the country if we want to bridge the gap. Again, as usual, there is a huge gap in case of capital market products, urban population and rural population. Urban population is much more, has the knowledge and use of these products, but that's not the same, issue in respect of the rural population. Now, some of the simple questions when we ask the people that why you don't, put your money in the financial products, or particularly say products like the capital market. And the second highest answer was the lack of knowledge. 33% of Indians say that it's not that we don't want to invest in the securities market or want to buy the mutual funds or other products, it's the lack of knowledge which keeps us away. And 17% says complicated future. So there is a scope, we have to do a lot of programs to, bridge the knowledge gap. And if the products are complicated, I think we as regulator and all of us have a clear message that we have to find the ways by which this issue is, handled. And a very, very important subject, and which I think everyone should be aware, is that what about your retirement planning? Across the country, when we ask this question, only that 22% of people are confident that they'll be able to manage their finances after retirement. And there too, only 18% say that they will maintain the same lifestyle. So it means, again, close to 80% of Indian population is not aware what happens to their retirement, when they retire from the formal jobs. So this is another area. So for that, currently I will briefly tell what NCF is doing, that National Center for Financial Education, which I am currently chair, is that we are trying to have the adult population programs through resource persons. And our focus is on the schools, because whether we like it or not, one of the reasons for lack of financial literacy is that these financial concepts are not a formal part of school education. So somewhere, in the journey, we have to look at it. To begin with, we are training the teachers across the country, and then these teachers are doing the programs for the students, and we call it financially, we call it money smart schools, and these teachers are called financial education trained teachers. So they actually conduct the programs. NCFE has also come with a new innovative products called e-learning module. It's a self-learning module where whatever financial learning concepts we have created in LMS form, and anybody can come on the NCFE website and can take these programs. So it's a kind of self-learning module which can be anyone can take up. There are, strategy to handle it. Like Krishnan sir says that what is the strategy and how do we go about. So we are working on 5 C's, which is content. Let us have the best content which is available for various target groups, maybe centralized at NCFE, so that standard content can be used or with the modifications. Collaborations. NCFE or any of the regulators or MC alone can't do, then we have to find, as many institutions we can collaborate with. Capacity development. We have to have the capacity, of the trainers or in all areas. And we have to next see is the community. We have to develop the community, whether it's at a village level or at in a different forms, and the correct channels of communication. I broadly feel that this is what we are doing for the financial education. As far as SEBI is concerned, we are also have come apart from what we had been doing a new concept called securities market trainers programs. This has been a very good programs for those who actually want to invest in the securities market. So it's a very, very focused program we recently launched. Apart from our other already programs we are conducting in way of by special trainers for commodities market, or through resource persons, or through our websites, and through the different outreach programs we do. I'm happy to say that because of the collective efforts, as against 7.98 crore mutual fund folios in 2019, on 31st July, we have close to 10.60 crore mutual fund folio. So there is a good increase. Similarly, in case of demat accounts, we had close to 3.59 crore demat accounts in 2009. This is 31st March 2019. And today on when we are talking 31st July 2021, we have 6.48 crore demat accounts. So close to 2.90 crore demat accounts have added in last over 2 years of period. Now coming to what is the way ahead, this is what the question we have to always ask. In my opinion, and that's what we realized, and that apart from the programs we are doing one-to-one basis, we have to look for more of a self-learning program and use of technology. As in the morning, Honorable Union Minister Rao Inderjit Singh ji mentioned that use of technology, collaboration, and research is going to play important role. So we have already identified the way ahead from our side, that let us have the focused program, different target groups. As I mentioned earlier, specific programs for women, agriculture laborers, retired people and for the rural population, and aspirational districts where the financial literacy level is low, or those states where the financial literacy is low. COVID-19 has taught us that Indians are not, behind when it comes to the technology, and if the need is there, we can make use of it. So I think that we have to look for making use of technology platform. As I mentioned, the self-learning ELMS platform. We have to, create more modules where someone who is interested in financial literacy can have the self-certification. That kind of programs we are doing. We also have to have a massive media campaign, because last year we had a media campaign and we covered close to 12.5 crore population. Because if we have to go to the, country which is so big, we have no option but to make the best use of, through the media campaign. These are some of the initial thoughts I have, because our journey is, very arduous, and then only we can achieve our target of, financially aware and empowered India. That should be our aim for 2047, and for which the path should be invest with knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Garg Saab. Can I now request Mr. Jain to briefly speak about the private sector perspective on these issues? Over to you, Jain sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. My respect to Krishnan sir, Garg sir, my fellow panelist Bijon Mishra, Lieutenant Colonel Tushar, and the professional delegates to this webinar. As has been suggested by the chairman, I would be speaking basically on two parts. One part would be the commercial aspect of the private sector, and the second is how India would look like sometime in 2047 against the world. So first I will come to the roadmap which private sector is expecting sometime in 2047. My personal feeling is that year 2047 is far ahead. What all I may be discussing and talking about could be accomplished in a period of maybe 10 years, 15 years, or maybe lesser. I'll start talking about, before this I was hearing the earlier technical session where we talked about the performance of last 5 years. I will say it has been a great effort from the side of the government to bring investor awareness and protection in place. And last 5 years, very good amount of had been done. If I quote the data which has been given by the CEO, 18,000 cases, 1,000 crore worth shares returned. It's a huge task. But in my view, still a lot need to be done further. We need to see that the process, because when we look at this process of claiming back the shares and all, still there are a lot of players who are charging a huge fee for all these work. So we need to see that over a period of time we create the system in such a way that it is very user friendly and it secures. With security we create ease of operations for the private investors so that they can claim their dividend as well as their shares. Now this requires a lot of discussion, a lot of debate. Had that been so simple, I think it would have been done by now. But we need to see that how we can create all these things over a period of time. The second thing is, which is very important for investor awareness, is the content of the investor awareness. We need to devise content based on the user, like we were talking about retirement people. Now, if in case we have to make investor education content for retirement people, besides return, besides safety of money, we have also talked about the behavioral aspect of emotional aspect where the children may require that money for their business or for something, because by the time a person retires, his children and all are at the age when they have to settle down. So we need to see that contents are explained, that behavioral aspect also, emotional aspect also, how to be dealt with. Because one does not want that all the retirement money is deployed in the business of a person and after that the money gets lost and the person finds himself totally high and dry. So content is a very important aspect. Depending on the audience, we need to divide the content and it is to be very, very clearly suitable for that audience. The third thing which I strongly believe is a comprehensive feedback system needs to be strengthened every day. And I strongly believe that in case the feedback system is communicated to the person who's providing the feedback, he gets encouraged more to give feedback. Otherwise, he thinks this way that, okay, I'm giving the feedback, but nobody is bothered about my feedback. So why should I waste my time and energy on that? So a comprehensive feedback from the different segment. India is a very big country, but then so are our programs. If you have done 55,000 programs in the past, it's a huge program. It's a huge number of programs. Of these programs. The other important aspect which I'm noticing is that a proper mechanism need to be created for even investor protection. You see, we are talking about awareness and protection. We are educating people very good. But even after that, sometimes the investors do lose his money, and not because of their mistake, not because of their lack of knowledge, but because some manipulators or some players in the market have done the mischief. Now, the government has come out with various regulations, particularly against intermediaries in a big way, and SEBI is doing a wonderful job in that in case an investor loses because of intermediaries problem, immediately, the arbitration, etc. are set, and within a very short time, the solutions are created. But one has to look at the cases like Satyam, cases like Cox and Kings, cases like Yes Bank, where people have lost money because the corporates or the managements have not given the true figures. So people have invested based on the figures available on the balance sheets or available on the debt on the public domain, and finally lost money because later it turned out to be that those informations were not 100% correct. There were issues in those informations. There were issues which were involved in terms of corporate governance, in terms of information. Now, we understand that stock exchanges have created some kind of a loss reimbursement mechanism for those. But the awareness of that is very poor, and the action point on that is not happening on time. Now, if a person loses money and he gets reimbursed about his losses faster, because I strongly again believe that justice delayed is justice denied. So if an investor knows that if he ends up making some losses because of somebody else's mistake, there is the investor protection fund which will be providing them the losses and which will be implemented, which is just not on paper, that will be implemented. And if it gets implemented faster, then I think the confidence of investor in the markets will go up. Coming back on the same subject, I would like to talk about India versus the world. You see, in the present scenario, as per the RBI data of 3-4 years back when I was doing my research, I noticed that the savings, around 3% of the savings only were getting invested in the capital market. Whereas in US, it was 49% of the savings which were going in the capital market. For the development of any economy, it is very important that my investor education should ensure that more and more people are helping in capital formation, which is helping the nation building. And hence, sometime by 2047, we would like to see that like developed countries, this is a very important part, because we have to see that when we have so much of time with us, we should ensure that over a period of time, this investor education is just not to control the Ponzi schemes and all. Ponzi schemes may still come. You see, in countries like US, Medtroff did created the Ponzi scheme and did created $50 billion worth scam. So some scamsters may keep on doing those scams. We can keep on educating, but the resolution of that scam should be very, very fast, and it should give the benefit to the investors very, very fast. So if these things are taken care, I personally feel India in 2047 would be like one of the developed nations, and our role as IPFA should be that we should keep on educating our investors, as well as keep on creating contents and ensure that the education and content which have been created, if they are not being used properly or if they are misused, then there is a remedial action on that very fast. With this, I think I will close my presentation. If any more questions are there, I'll be pleased to answer.
Thank you very much, Jain Saab. That was on the dot and focused exactly on aspects that needed to be focused on. I would like to thank you for that. Can I now turn to Professor John Mishra to speak on the other side of this market, namely the consumer and in one sense, the consumer of finance for whom all of us exist. IEPFA exists for her. So over to you, Professor Mishra. You have 6 minutes to speak about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Krishnan. It's wonderful to be here with you all after a real long gap, and this pandemic has actually made us retrospect in terms of how technology can play a role to empower the consumers. And today we are talking about that. I want to also recognize Mr. Garg from SEBI and our friend Rakesh ji, Jain Saab, and Tushar ji. I want to thank Rajesh ji and Manoj ji for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the consumers, or as very rightly said by Professor Krishnan, on behalf of all of us who are consumers, who are owners of certain financial products or service, and we are trying to take things forward in terms of looking at 2047. So from 11 o'clock, I've been listening in terms of, I've been participating and listening to all what people have said. It was real music in my ears. Great achievements in the last 5 years. I would recognize that lot of distance has been covered. But what could be those areas where we in true sense can say the consumer is empowered? You see, empowerment comes with credible information. And credible information comes out of neutral bodies who are unbiased and who speak, in a scientific, evidence-based manner. And that information, how we can communicate to the end users in the language they understand, which is very, very important. So as you know, and I would like to clarify here that I'm not the founder of Jago Graham Jago, as it has been mentioned. I have been one of those part of the architecture when the government of India decided to use the Consumer Welfare Fund, which again belongs to the consumers. But unfortunately, that money couldn't get to the consumers, so we created a fund in a legislation which was meant to empower consumers and educate consumers in terms of taking things forward in the country. And we developed a multimedia campaign called Jago Grahak Jago. When we created that multimedia campaign, we engaged with the professionals who knew about communication and how to create a brand. So we created Jago Grahak Jago as a brand. And this is where I come from. If I wish to create a brand for the consumers, where the consumers can depend on that brand, which is education and protection of the consumers in terms of financial products and services, then we have to engage with all stakeholders in a manner that it is harmonized. And as Jain Saab said very accurately, he mentioned about various solutions. So my only approach to Jain Saab is the private sector should also come out on its own without waiting for the government or the authority to take any initiative in terms of educating the investors in terms of their social security, health insurance. Referred to a study which has been done. I would be very happy to be accessible to that study, because I'm sure that study will throw again a lot of opportunity in terms of how to move forward. And we know that there's a huge distance to be covered. And the most important tool we need to empower the consumers with is a surveillance mechanism, where we need to preempt at the marketplace, where we need to ensure that even before a fraudulent person or an entity comes into the marketplace, that person has been identified and exposed. How we can do with help of technology to do that. And that is where the empowerment of a consumer comes, to differentiate between a genuine entity who is conducting business in a fair manner and a fly-by-night operator or a fraudulent person or a criminal who is trying to cheat the consumers. So this is where we need to bring in that surveillance mechanism and work with organizations like, for example, I'm an advisor to the Advertising Standard Council of India. Now, Advertising Standard Council of India's mandate is to be vigilant and to be alert in terms of misleading advertisement and ensure that we are able to catch the culprit. So we should engage with Advertising Standard Council of India, who would do surveillance and ensure that we are able to catch the culprits even before they have done any fraudulent activity by misleading the consumers in a deceptive manner. Similarly, I would work with the government of Odisha. For example, I advise government of Odisha. We have started an institute called State Institute on Consumer Awareness. That institute can be used to build in that literacy within the citizens of Odisha to be able to think of products which would provide them social security, provide them universal health coverage, look at how we can engage in terms of Ayushman Bharat, or the various products under various government schemes are being provided, which are being partially subsidized, and government is expecting that some kind of an equity is brought by the citizens also from their savings. Now this is where I feel, the authority can play a very big role in terms of educating, in terms of increasing the circle of influence, and be able to link with academic institutions in Orissa or in various states. I'm giving the example of Orissa because we are working in these directions in terms of what Jain Saab has said and Garg Saab has said, in terms of data, which is already there. And we want to work on such issues along with the state government, where again funding is coming from the Consumer Welfare Fund, and how we can supplement that. And we don't need funds. We have enough resources. We need technically competent people who can be engaged to be able to develop those mechanisms, those tools, those empowerment tools for the common consumer to get empowered in true sense and be educated, and we bring up the literacy rate as high as we can in terms of reaching the 100% mark by 2047. So how do we do that step by step? So the next 5 years should focus on looking at states, working with state governments in terms of reaching out. I know that already the authority has developed number of partnerships, like the Institute of Company Secretary, which is organizing this event. But now we should go in for more of innovation, more in terms of tools and techniques which should be adopted by use of technology. Because everybody is today linked in the internet. Everybody's got an hand phone. How we can use that? How we can use that as a tool to empower the consumer? Alertness, like what Jain Saab said. You see, the real story is, if I get cheated at 2 o'clock in the morning because I was surfing and somebody cheated me, I should be immediately be able to seek help. So if there is a helpline number, it has to be 24/7. Helpline number cannot sleep. Helpline number cannot say that you are in a queue, you are important for me, we are waiting for you, we will talk to you. No, somebody has to pick it up the moment I call. And it's possible by the use of technology. It's not expensive. It's only an intent. It's the will which we have to take forward. And I'm sure the authority has the resources, and with the leadership of Rajesh ji and Manoj ji, we can think of those innovative ideas. Work with IRDA, work with SEBI, work with RBI in terms of how do we build that connectivity with the last mile, with that person who is investing that money with a lot of trust in the system and the mechanism.
Thank you, Professor Mishra. Can I now request Colonel Anand, CEO of the IEPFA, to now bring it all together and do the not so easy job of sort of partially at least responding to how will the primary authority created for this purpose in the statute be able to take the agenda forward and create an aware, empowered, and much more financially inclusive India. Over to Lieutenant Colonel Anand, CEO IPFA.
Thank you so much, sir. So the name of the session is, we are talking about 2047, predominantly because 100 years is what we are looking at, that at 100th year, where do we stand right now, as brought out by Garg sir, we are at 27% of financial literacy pan-India. So at 100th year, where do we take this journey from 27th year is the task at hand, sir. So as you all are aware, IPFA is the only statutory body in India which has a legislative mandate to spread investor awareness. Now, as part of national efforts towards financial inclusion, IPFA has been carrying out various events, awareness programs in length and breadth of the country. Predominantly, sir, the objectives of IPFA education policy adopted by IPFA is, firstly, making the masses at the grassroots level, that means the village, because 80 odd crore of Indian population reside in villages, and in those villages we have got approximately, say, 65% of India is youth. So we have got men folks, women folks, and the youngsters or the youth, which is 65%, to make them understand the importance of budgeting, saving, and banking, because youth has got more, they can take the leap of faith and take the risk factor. The ladies, the women folks have got a different approach towards savings, and men folks have a different. Secondly, sir, the raising the population awareness about long-term savings and investment opportunities. Thirdly, understanding the Ponzi scheme. What is the modus operandi of Ponzi scheme? Because in the rural areas, not so literate people, they fall prey to these schemes. Risk involved in investing such schemes so as to get a lot of benefit out of it in a short time, and also the safeguards against such Ponzi schemes. Fourthly, sir, making people understand the achievement of sustainable expansion of market boundaries. So keeping those objectives into mind, sir, IPFA has charted its strategy and plan, sir. Now, all of this will be done to have a long-term investment culture in India. Thereby, sir, we can make Indians intelligent investors in future. So we at IPFA, sir, has adopted, keeping these objectives in mind, multi-pronged strategy alongside stakeholders who are actively in the financial domain. So we are tying up with so many organizations to take the mandate given to us, sir. IPFA is in the process of launching, sir, a more responsible attitude and habits towards money management among youth adults, because 65% of India is young, and encourage them to plan their finances from a young age. So we have been addressing schools and colleges in a planned manner so that when from college they pass out to the job market, they plan their retirement well and they become responsible citizens and add on to the growth of the nation, sir. Financial awareness workshops, programs, sir, for different target groups to nationwide resource person network. So we have got resource person network of ICSI, ICAI, IICA. So we have been exploiting them, making use of them, because they are all learned resource persons who comes and they deliver the talk on financial awareness, financial literacy, thereby ensuring financial inclusion. Train the Training program concept has given us rich dividend. In case of NYKS, we have opportunity to train NYKS volunteers, CACE governance volunteers, thereby they becoming the messenger of the authority and going to the grassroots level and making the people understand, sir. A few programs, sir, which are in the pipeline, which we have planned is Invest Smart, Intelligent Invest Program, Invest Karo India. These are all aimed at particularly the next generation of investors. So we are aiming at the next generation of investors who have not been included in the banking circle, or who are in the banking circle and not got into the bandwagon of investments, sir, with valuable investment information and in a simplified manner, so that they understand the nuances of financial planning, banking, saving, how to invest, how to plan their retirement, how to so that they can, increase the number of the funds which they are holding. So we are using various technologies, multiple mass media platforms, and augmenting the traditional investor education and engagement channel. So predominantly pre-COVID, sir, it was more to do with traditional investor education and engagement channels. Now, with the COVID coming in place, we have extensively used reach out like IPPB, sir, Indian Post Payment Bank. So we have using their network because they have a good reach at Gramin Dak Sevak in the villages, and they've got the banking system is there in the villages. So we are exploiting that also, sir. So with a new strategy in place to cover the different strata of the society, IPFA, sir, with partner institute like ICSI, ICAI, IICA, IPBB, CSCE governance, NYKS, NSS, NCC, we want to reach out to all the strata of society, be it villagers, be it youngsters, be it college students, and commit to bring change in the society as regard financial awareness is concerned, thereby contribute towards nation building, sir. Sir, I am confident that in years to come, the financial inclusion movement will give impetus to the growth of the country. And collectively, every step taken by each such organization, be it SEBI, be it RBI, be it banking, or for that matter, IPFA, in the field of financial inclusion and financial awareness, we will have an impact on how we Indians think about financial management, thereby bridging the gap of that 73% of financial literacy deficit, which is there predominantly present as of now. So with using the technology, using the various, collaborating with various organizations, private organizations, government organizations, we will increase our footprint all over India, and we will be able to achieve, at least we'll bridge this gap from 73%, it will get reduced phenomenally. And collectively, once we all come together and we take on this mandate of making Indians as intelligent investors, I'm sure, sir, we will grow as a country at large, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Colonel Anand. That was an excellent summary of both the ongoing and the projected activities of IEPFA. I want to use this opportunity to thank you, your colleagues in the IEPFA, my friend Manoj Pandey and Secretary Corporate Affairs, and thank all my esteemed panelists for very, very useful and pointed interventions. May I now hand the audience back to the organizers for the next part of the proceedings. Thank you, and all of you have a safe and good day.
Thank you. I thank all the panelists for sharing their views in the technical session on Roadmap for Investor Awareness and Protection till 2047. It was a very thought-provoking session and will surely provide guidance and direction in designing the roadmap for investor awareness and protection till 2047. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we come to the conclusion of the IEPFA 5th Foundation Day celebrations. I acknowledge the presence of one and all for making this virtual event a grand success. Thank you. Have a nice day.